Hello, seniors. Here we are, back at Little House. Let's see what's going to go on after the wedding we read about yesterday. Let's see how long of a chapter. It's a pretty good bit. We'll see what we can get through. Hope you all are doing well. Saw quite a few folks at the live today, but if you missed it, I hope you'll be able to join us on Friday. Artistic Attempts is chapter 26. It takes people a long time to learn the difference between talent and genius, especially ambitious young men and women. Amy was learning this distinction through much tribulation, for mistaking enthusiasm for inspiration. She attempted every branch of art with youthful audacity. For a long time, there was a lull in the mud pie business, and she devoted herself to the finest pen and ink drawing, in which she showed such taste and skill that her graceful handiwork proved both pleasant and profitable. But overstrained eyes soon caused pen and ink to be laid aside for a bold attempt at poker sketching. While this attack lasted, the family lived in constant fear of a conflagration. Not sure about that. For the odor of burning wood pervaded the house at all hours. Smoke issued from the attic and shed with alarming frequency. Red-hot pokers lay about promiscuously, and Hannah never went to bed without a pail of water and a dinner bell at her door in case of fire. Well, what is she doing with the poker? Playing with the fire? Poker sketching. And she was drawing before. I don't know. We'll see. Raphael's face was found boldly executed on the underside of the molding board, and Bacchus on the head of a beer barrel. I guess she was drawing on this stuff. A chanting cherub adorned the cover of the sugar bucket. Oh, I guess she's doing it with the poker sketching. Okay, she's using the hot poker like a wood burning set, I guess. And attempts to portray Garrick buying gloves of the grisette supplied kindlings for some time. From fire to oil was a natural transition for burnt fingers, and Amy fell to painting with undiminished ardor. An artist friend fitted her out with his cast-off palettes, brushes, and colors, and she dabbed away, producing pastoral and marine views such as were never seen on land or sea. Her monstrosities in the way of cattle would have taken prizes at an agricultural fair, and the perilous pitching of her vessels would have produced seasickness in the most nautical observer, if the utter disregard to all known rules of shipbuilding and rigging had not convulsed him with laughter at first glance. Swarthy boys and dark-eyed Madonnas staring at you from one corner of the studio did not suggest Murillo. Oily brown shadows of faces with a lurid streak in the wrong place meant Rembrandt. Buxom ladies and dropsical infants, Rubens. And Turner appeared in tempests of blue thunder, orange lightning, brown rain, purple clouds, with a tomato-colored splash in the middle, which might be the sun, or a buoy, a sailor's shirt, or a king's robe, as the spectator pleased. So it was just whatever they had in their imagination. Charcoal portraits came next, and the entire family hung in a row, looking as wild and crocky as if just evoked from a coal bin. Softened into crayon sketches, they did better, for the likenesses were good, and Amy's hair, Joe's nose, Meg's mouth, and Laurie's eyes were pronounced wonderfully fine. A return to clay and plaster followed, and ghostly casts of their acquaintances haunted corners of the house, or tumbled off closet shelves onto people's heads. Children were enticed in as models till their incoherent accounts of her mysterious doings caused Amy to be regarded in the light of a young ogress. Her efforts in this line, however, were brought to an abrupt close by an untoward accident which quenched her ardor. Many models failing her for time, she undertook to cast her own pretty foot, and the family were one day alarmed by an unearthly bumping and screaming and running to the rescue. Found the young enthusiast hopping wildly about the shed with her foot held fast in a pan full of plaster, which had hardened with unexpected rapidity. With much difficulty and some danger she was dug out, for Joe was so overcome with laughter while she excavated that her knife went too far, cut the poor foot, and left a lasting memorial of one artistic attempt, at least. She was trying to make a cast of her foot, or a model of her foot. After this, Amy subsided till a mania for sketching from nature set her to haunting river, field, and wood for picturesque studies and sighing for ruins to copy. She caught endless cold sitting on a damp grass to book a delicious bit composed of a stone, a stump, one mushroom, and a broken mullein stalk, or a heavenly mass of clouds that looked like a choice display of feather beds when done. She sacrificed her complexion, floating on the river in the midsummer sun, to study light and shade, and got a wrinkle over her nose trying after points of sight, or whatever the squint and string performance is called. If genius is eternal patience, as Michelangelo affirms, Amy certainly had some claim to the divine attribute, for she persevered in spite of all obstacles, failures, and discouragements, firmly believing that in time she should do something worthy to be called high art. She was learning, doing, and enjoying other things meanwhile, for she had resolved to be an attractive and accomplished woman, even if she never became a great artist. Here she succeeded better, for she was one of those happily created beings who please without effort, make friends everywhere, and take life so gracefully and easily that less fortunate souls are tempted to believe that such are born under a lucky star. Everybody liked her, for among her good gifts was tact. She had an instinctive sense of what was pleasing and proper, always said the right thing to the right person, did just what suited the time and place, and was so self-possessed that her sisters used to say, if Amy went to court without any rehearsal beforehand, she'd know exactly what to do. One of her weaknesses was a desire to move in our best society without being quite sure what the best really was. Money, position, fashionable accomplishments, and elegant manners were most desirable things in her eyes, and she liked to associate with those who possessed them, often mistaking the false for the true and admiring what was not admirable. Never forgetting that by birth she was a gentlewoman, she cultivated her aristocratic taste and feelings so that when the opportunity came, she might be ready to take the place from which poverty now excluded her. My lady, as her friends called her, sincerely desired to be a genuine lady, and was so at heart, but had yet to learn that money cannot buy refinement of nature, that rank does not always confer nobility, and that true breeding makes itself felt in spite of external drawbacks. I want to ask a favor of you, Mama, Amy said, coming in with an important air one day. Well, little girl, what is it? Replied her mother, in whose eyes the stately young woman had still remained the baby. Our drawing class breaks up next week, and before the girls separate for the summer, I want to ask them out here for a day. They're wild to see the river, sketch the broken bridge, and copy some of the things they admire in my book. They had been very kind to me in many ways, and I'm grateful, for they are all rich, and I know I am poor, yet that never made any difference. Why should they? Said Mrs. March. And Mrs. March put the question with what the girls called her Maria Theresa air. You know as well as I that it does make a difference with nearly everyone, so don't ruffle up like a dear motherly hen when your chickens get pecked by smarter birds. The ugly duckling turned out a swan, you know, and Amy smiled without bitterness, for she possessed a happy temper and hopeful spirit. Mrs. March laughed and smoothed down her maternal pride. Let me make sure I didn't skip something. Nope. Blah, 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 blah. Pride, maternal pride, as she asked, well, my swan, what is your plan? I should like to ask the girls out to lunch next week to take them a drive to the places they want to see, a row on the river perhaps, and make a little artistic fete for them. That looks feasible. What do you want for lunch? Cake, sandwiches, fruit, and coffee will be all that's necessary, I suppose. Oh dear, no, we must have cold tongue and chicken, French chocolate and ice cream besides. The girls are used to such things, and I want my lunch to be proper and elegant, though I do work for a living. How many young ladies are there? Asked her mother, beginning to look sober. Can you imagine? Tongue and chicken. Chicken's okay, but tongue? 12 or 14 in the class, but I dare say they won't all come. Bless me, child, you will have to charter an omnibus to carry them about. Why, Mother, how can you think of such a thing? Not more than 6 or 8 will probably come. So I shall hire a beach wagon and borrow Mr. Lawrence's Cherry Bounce. Hannah's pronunciation of charabanc. Cherry Bounce. I guess that's some kind of carriage. Ah, this will be expensive, Amy. Not very. I've calculated the cost, and I'll pay for it myself. Don't you think, dear, that as these girls are used to such things, and the best we can do will be nothing new, that some simpler plan would be pleasanter to them as a change, if nothing more, and much better for us than buying or borrowing what we don't need and attempting a style not in keeping with our circumstances? If I can't have it as I like, I don't care to have it at all. I know that I can carry it out perfectly well if you and the girls will help a little, and I don't see why I can't if I'm willing to pay for it, said Amy with a decision which opposition was apt to change into obstinacy. Mrs. March knew that experience was an excellent teacher, and when it was possible, she left her children to learn alone the lessons which she would gladly have made easier if they had not objected to taking advice as much as they did Salt's and Senna. Very well, Amy, if your heart is set upon it and you see your way through without too great an outlay of money, time, and temper, I'll say no more. Talk it over with the girls, and whichever way you decide, I'll do my best to help you. Thanks, Mother, you're always so kind. And away went Amy to lay her plan before her sisters. Meg agreed at once and promised her aid, gladly offering anything she possessed, from her little house itself to her very best salt spoons. But Joe frowned upon the whole project and would have nothing to do with it at first. Why in the world should you spend your money, worry your family, and turn the house upside down for a parcel of girls who don't care a sixpence for you? I thought you had too much pride and sense to truckle to any mortal woman just because she wears French boots and rides in a coupe, said Joe, who, being called from the tragical climax of her novel, was not in the best mood for social enterprises. I don't truckle, and I hate being patronized as much as you do, returned Amy indignantly, for the two still jangled when such questions arose. The girls do care for me, and I for them, and there's a